welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to come on and talk to me. I'm so excited to talk to you about what you do. I know a little bit about you just kind of through Finessed. I got your name from Alexi, but like I'm so excited to just dive in to what you do. I guess we can start out, just give a little bit about what you do and who you are, just kind of what your story is to get us started for anyone who doesn't already know you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. Big shout out to the Finesse team and Lexi. My name is Dilemma, Dan Dilemma Thomas. I'm from Jersey. I'm a music producer, DJ, musician, now morphing into an exec position because I run a label now. But everything around music. And I'm a dog dad. Been producing for a few years. Started off in high school, loving music, playing the saxophone. Then that gradually got me into college at UArts, where I studied music ed. And it was in UArts where my roommate, Adam Blackstone, had all of this equipment. And I was just messing around with it while he was at a gig and everything. And then he kind of put the first battery in my back, like, yo, you're getting good, yo. You should like really think about doing this. So after college, it became a hobby first, just, you know, it was my video game. And then I got introduced to beat battles and, you know, started winning them. And then I ended up getting our first placement in Waist Deep, the movie. And everything changed after that. It was like, oh, okay, maybe I can figure this out, you know? So from, I say 2000, I still remember the day. It was June 23rd, 2006. From that day on, just been doing music.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it for me. That was it.
Yeah. Wow. So now, like, what has your career kind of become? Like, what are your main things now that you're working on?
Right. I think when I started, I didn't realize what that purpose or what my purpose or what my goal was. So for a few years, to be super transparent, I was distracted by what I thought I needed to do by looking at other folks and other producers. But within the last 5 years now, I've kind of somehow reset and went back to why I started this. And it was to break an artist. It was to really build a real longevity relationship with an artist. When I was growing up, I saw like the Timberland and the Aaliyahs and the Genuines. And you see what Timberland's doing with Justin, Pharrell with Khalees, and Pharrell with the Clips. That's kind of like what I wanted. You know, that's what I saw. I thought that was very normal. So I think I'm pretty sure the goal is to break an artist. So I have artists now that I'm developing, and it's pretty exciting. We're coming up with some really crazy, dope stuff, you know, really, really dope stuff. So just learning that now and switching gears. I've had placements. I've placed a bunch of songs with a bunch of artists, but I think where my heart is like really breaking a brand new act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And there's such a wide open space to do that. I feel like now so many artists coming up and breaking, especially like separate from even just the major labels, because there's so many different avenues to do it today.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. And, you know, now with all the experience and, you know, just the guidance that I have and just the wisdom of just studying the right thing. So like I said, I was very distracted earlier. And but I think I'm clear on what I'm building and how I'm building it. So now it's really getting exciting to kind of like, okay, I know kind of how to move and maneuver in this space and stay focused. Because again, I really went to school to be a music teacher, but then fell in love with making beats and then fell in love with songwriting and, you know, creating a record. And what does that look like? And what are the elements of creating a real record? So it was never really about making 1,000 beats and getting on 1,000 random artists. That was certain goals for certain people. That just wasn't my thing. You know, that wasn't what I, you know, oh, I did such and such. I'm number I'm on number 7 on this album. I'm number.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. It's a huge blessing to get placements. Don't. But it wasn't what got me going, like what really got me into it. And so sometimes you can drift away from that and get back. So it's pretty exciting now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that kind of music ed background in the beginning helps you now working with young artists and having that knowledge of knowing how to work with them. I'm sure some of those skills come into play.
Absolutely. Just big collaborations. The thing that I've learned is that the greatest records is a group effort. It's multiple people doing 20% here, 15% here. No one's doing the heavy lifting. So I joke with my friends and I'm like, yo, I want to be the greatest collaborator. Forget being like the best this or the best that. I just want to be the best collaborator. Like, all right, cool. If you work with Dilemma's going to just put everything together and just, ta-da, Power Rangers.
Yeah, bringing people together. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did want to ask, so I've listened to a little bit of some of the music that you've worked on and just kind of looked into some of the projects that you've had in your career, and you do work on some like different kinds of genres. So I wanted to ask you if there's specific genres that you normally work on or produce, and if you're working on different ones, do you approach them differently? Or if you're working with artists in different genres of music, do you have a different approach to that?
Every artist is a different approach. You try to find a little thing that kind of is similar of just like the pure feeling or the energy. But every artist is different. I'm a fan of music. I'm a super jazz head, which I think kind of opens my whole ear up to bounce in different genres. But yeah, I'm not afraid of anything that kind of gets thrown to me. I kind of study it and figure out the strengths. Every voice is an instrument to me. So I can always kind of figure out, okay, this will sound good on this tone, this rhythm. If we just put this around this, it could work. So yeah, like a lot of the records, even like with the Man on Fire record, it was kind of like we heard his voice and was like, I know exactly what to do with that. You know? With Jasmine, she's just a unicorn, man. Like she kind of.
I want to clarify for people. We're talking about Jazmine Sullivan right now.
yeah, Jazmine Sullivan, the GOAT. I can't. That has nothing to do with any of us.
She's incredible.
Like she made that. We was just, we was there, but because she always like we send her songs or ideas of songs, and the songs that we would or the tracks that we would think that she would like, she kind of skips over, and she always picks like the songs that we're like, oh, she won't even like this, and she'll pick it and write something amazing to it. And I'm like, I can't even think like. So she's amazing, and it's always cool to work with her because again, it's just like one of those things where you're not expecting her to like it, and so when you hear what she did to it, you're like, only Jasmine.
Yeah.
So
and you worked on an earlier, relatively earlier album with her, and then you worked on her most recent album as well. Was there kind of did you feel any kind of a change like in working on the newer project, like in her as an artist and like just the structure of the project? Was anything different about the experience the second time around, or was it just kind of the same genius both times?
A little bit of both, only because it was so natural. Like I worked with her engineer Joe Logic, and our producing partner Matt G Wong. So we're just friends. We were just in the studio. We didn't have Jasmine in mind when we did the first two when we did Stupid Girls on a reality show. we actually made it just one random night at the studio, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, yo, you know who would sound cool on this? Estelle. And I was trying to get it to Estelle. And then later in that week, Jasmine had a session with Joe, and he said that he played it for her and she loved it. And we weren't even thinking of Jasmine, you know? So I think there's a system that we create when we just get together and we just create. Let's see what we can come up with. So in that process is no pressure. So we're just creating. When she wanted If You Dare, it wasn't pressure. It was like, we kind of have a formula. We know kind of like how to do this. But we were definitely being intentional with You Dare. For the other side, again, it wasn't a track that we was expecting her to like. But when I started to hear what she was coming up with, I was like, oh, this could be dope. So we did some tweaks to that record. We made the beat, we made the skeleton of the beat, but then we had to like morph it and, you know, update the drums and switch this. And then we added strings and all of these cool elements to it. There's no pressure. It's more like, you just never know, you know, you never know. It's kind of hard to study something that's not a full, I don't want to say consistent, right? I want to say predictable. She's really not predictable when it comes to the stuff that we send her. So it's kind of hard to study that. It's kind of like, okay, we just go after a feel. Like if we go after a feel, then we know that this works.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that a kind of a common thing when you're working on a project? Do you kind of start working on a beat, working on an idea, and then it kind of morphs into something maybe totally different than what you originally imagined it to be? Or do you more like maybe find an artist and you're working with them, or start working on something and then send it to artists? And like, what does the process usually look like? Does it change a lot depending on the project?
It definitely changed a lot. I feel like you'll get a different result every single time. I know folks that make beats and send it through email and the record comes out and it sounds great. I'm a fan of group creativity. So creating it, having everyone there, I think that those are the best records. But you know, with technology and COVID, sometimes like Zoom sessions, Facebook sessions, you always will find a way to create. So absolutely. I've been doing a lot of sessions over Zoom and sending things back and forth and working with musicians all across the country. I don't think there's a right or wrong way of creating a dope record now. I just feel like you have to find what works for you. You know, I'm very comfortable by myself, but I'm also comfortable with 20 people in the studio. Maybe not 20 people, maybe like 7. Because I do like to kind of focus and get something done. So yeah, everybody's different. When it comes to jazz, I'm never at any of the vocal sessions. So I kind of do my job and then just go home. And then it gets sent back to me. I'm like, that was amazing. But other, like, especially with my artist, Dom and Jesse, or even with Man on Fire, we were there, you know, like hands on, just like, okay, cool. You know, really being intentional how we were creating a record.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you brought up that, you know, COVID changed a lot about the way that music was made for a while and still has changed the way that music is being made. But I think the music industry has definitely proven to be very resilient in the last year and a half, 2 years.
Resilient and stubborn at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely changed. But, you know, I feel like life is about adjustments. Life is about, you know, figuring it out. And it kind of, well, when I started Crew, when I became a part of Crew, it was like like May of 2019 and COVID hit the following year. So from May to the end of that year, we were like getting to know each other, getting to know the artists, figuring out how we were going to move forward. And then as soon as we had an idea, COVID hit. So it was like, all right, so, but, we didn't let it stop us. We figured it out. We started doing Zoom sessions, staying up FaceTime, luckily everyone on crew has the ability to record and has Pro Tools or Logic. So we're just sending sessions back and forth and tweaking and doing all of these things. And when it was starting to get a little safer to come outside, then we were all able to get back into the studio.
Yeah.
Weekly, like not every day, but like weekly and get things done. But it was an adjustment. But I think it really made, for me, it was bitter. I mean, I think I needed the break a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like everybody probably did, at least some of a break.
Yeah, it was still crazy what was going on in the world, but I felt like I was able to kind of like slow down. I read a lot. I was able to like really study and come out of it with a whole new, not a whole new perspective, but a sharper perspective on certain things. So it was like, oh, if I was still traveling and DJing and doing all this stuff, I wouldn't have had this time to sit down and open a book and kind of like, figure out where my missteps are, and like, okay, cool. We like, again, my team, we always talk about, we always get to the playoffs and we always get to the conference finals, but we never get to the finals. Let's figure out why. And so having that time to kind of figure out, oh, okay, and I hate using like sports analogies or anything, but sports to us is like sports and life are like hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say I enjoyed the break, but it was productive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like obviously it has gone on a bit longer than probably anybody wanted it to, but I'm sure that a lot of people had that same experience of just time to reflect, time to be on your own and take a step back. And I think that was probably pretty healing for a lot of people and helped them in their craft, especially in the music industry and in creating music. I mean, so much incredible music was made when the whole world was locked down.
Yes, very true. If you do your research, you'll see that. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Very, very true. And, I think it just made the real creatives tap into their superpower.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, this is where we, you see the verses, you see with D and Ice, and it really just was like, okay, here's our moment. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask about, when you're working on projects, during pandemic and now, and just kind of over the course of your career, how do you kind of decide what you want to work on, what you want to be a part of? Are there certain things that you look for? Are there certain things that kind of spark for you and that you latch on to and know that that's something you want to be a part of?
Yes. It changed. It definitely changed from, like I said, earlier dilemma, it was just talent. Like, oh, this person is dope. This person could sing. This person can rap. I want to be a part of it. Now, work ethic, narrative, and if they're like, overall good person, like what type of energy are you giving to the world, is what kind of pulls me in. Sometimes people just hit you up and want your services and, want to pay you. But I still kind of figure out those things. Like, what are we selling? What are we doing? What's the whole narrative? Is this kind of like something I can grow with? Because again, I'm not here just to kind of give you a bunch of tracks and keep it moving. I want to kind of grow with you. So, how do you view the world? The narrative is super important. So if it's something that aligns to what I want to share, if I can hear, oh, I know exactly what to do with this, then I'm always going to be on board to assist. Then you have to be sober and to know when to say no. And not every good opportunity is a great opportunity. So being aware, I'm pretty good at it now, just knowing which ones are the distractions.
Yeah.
And which ones are, okay, yeah, this aligns to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It gets a little easier once you are very focused and clear, because when the opportunities pop in, you can just see, okay, this is the next step. This adds up, you know. So yeah, for me now, it's those things. It's the narrative. It's, does it align to the other things that I have going on? The work ethic of the artist is super, 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 super important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many talented people out here, but a lot of them lack a real serious work ethic that will keep them at a certain place. Like, their ceiling is low because of the work ethic. So I'm more in tune to, if a person is sober, like if they are aware of their own gaps, but their work ethic is just incredible, that they're just going to work at filling those gaps. That's super important to me, you know? So
absolutely.
I'll work with a person like that, because I know in 6 months, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
They're going to get it. And they're going to, that's like something you can't really teach. That got to kind of be in you from being around other champions and other crazy work ethic people. And so that's always attractive to me, like that now, where before it was like talent. And I was like, oh, this person can sing. They know they can sing. That's why they don't want to do anything else.
Not willing to grow, not willing to.
They don't want to do the content. Right. They don't want to do the content. They don't want to, vocal lessons. They don't want to, do the other things that you need when you are climbing this mountain. You don't want to do the other things. So that can be frustrating as a producer when you're like, why didn't it break through? Is it me? Was it the track? And you're like, nah. You gave them a good, you got a good track off,
You did what you had to do.
Right. There's another side of this to make it successful. And, taking these times to read the books, I'm like, oh, I see. All of these things, all of the dominoes have to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. The music industry is not a business where you can be complacent. You have to keep moving, keep working.
Yeah, man. Yeah, always keep moving, keep learning. And, unfortunately, that's the stuff that you have to fall in love with.
Yeah.
You can't fall in love with the cheers and the awards, and you have to fall in love with the grind of it.
Absolutely.
You have to fall in love with that, because you'll be in the mud more than not.
Yeah. I was listening to an interview with her not too long ago, and she was talking about being an artist and a musician. And she said something that like really struck a chord with me. She said, when you love music and you love what you do, you have to do it and practice it even when you don't feel like it, because you can't just do it when you feel like doing it. You have to always be doing it and always be getting better, even when you don't want to, or else you're not going to get better.
There it is. It's amazing, and if you do a deep dive on her, and knowing when Jeff started developing her, she was 12.
She 11, was Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby, right. And we see the outcome of that, and how she's a spectacle. She's amazing. She's must-see TV. So going back and like, oh, she didn't let up. She wasn't playing. She was very intentional on a lot of things. And I feel so she wasn't just relying on her natural ability. She super doubled down on the fact that she loved music and she could play, but then she wanted to be super special with it too. So I just think that that's a certain magic in certain artists that, that's what I want to be around.
Yeah. That can be hard to identify, I think, when you're young and you're coming up, you're a young producer. I think that a lot of early stage producers probably don't have that skill of being able to identify, which ones are the distractions and which projects are really the ones that are going to be meaningful to them in their career.
Absolutely. And that's part of the process though. So if you don't have a mentor or if you don't have a blueprint of where you're going, then you won't notice you won't know which ones are good. So to any young producer out there, kind of work backwards. Always look at where you want to end up. Pick a person. You know, for me, it was always like Pharrell and Timberland, you know, because I love them. But then it's L.A. Reid, you know, it's Dre, it's Jermaine Dupri, it's Diddy, and then working backwards. They were producers, but they also were music executives. They also broke acts. So that to me was kind of like, all right, so then I know which ones, when opportunities present themselves, I know when artists present themselves, I know which one's a distraction and which one, you're smart, because you remind me of that I read about. You know, you get it. When L.A. Reid was talking about Justin Bieber, and when he walked into his office, he had a hit haircut. It's those little nuances of kind of like the kid knew exactly how to look for it to sell. So as I'm looking for an artist to work, if I know that they present themselves as an artist, you know, then I'm like, okay, they're very aware of what works for them and what doesn't work with them.
Yeah.
So it's beyond just your natural talent. It's like, are you smart enough to know who are going to believe and buy into what you're selling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without getting too deep, but yeah. So
no, yes, that makes total sense, and that's great advice. It's so important to know where you're going. You can't just be on the grind and do what you're doing and not have an end goal, and not have a place you're trying to be, and not have a person you're trying to be like.
Or just understand where their shortcomings, because you know, I try to tell this to my mentees all the time, like, yo, just have a person and reverse engineer from the very beginning. Not when you started to like them, no, from the very beginning, and align it. You know, the mistakes that they did make, the timing of things, the people that they introduced or that they met along the way. With the internet now, you can really figure that all out.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, you know, you talked about how early on in your career, you felt like you didn't have as much of like a goal or a mission, how that's kind of come about as you've kind of learned more and developed more and been a part of more projects. What would you say really is your goal as a producer, as a music industry professional, as a label owner? What are you really trying to accomplish in the music industry?
I want to break an artist. That's the short-term goal. The biggest goal is to reestablish the music department in the music education in my hometown, Willingboro. So there's so many talented folks that come out of Willingboro, New Jersey, exit 5 off the turnpike for all
I'm 7A, so
come on, somebody. Yes. Exit 5. That's always going to be a dear place for me, because that's where all the super creatives came from Willingboro. And it's sad to kind of see or hear how the music department and music programs there aren't as strong as it was when I was there. So my goal is to break an artist and to, you know, really follow the footsteps of, you know, the Puff Daddies, the Berry Gordies, you know,
the greats,
factory, you know, have a well-oiled system. So then you can have impact in other areas and bring education back. It's always going to go back to education and exposing kids to music education in a different way. That'll keep them, you know, keeping it, you know,
keeping it alive.
Absolutely. Because they're keeping it alive, but I just feel like it's not based in something, it's not rooted in something real. So when it stops working, then it can be disposable. This wasn't disposable for me. I fell in love with it. Like, it was a rap. I knew I was going to do something in music. It was a rap. like 9th grade, it was a wrap. It was like, okay, I want to be just like Mr. Lesser, my music teacher. It was a wrap. I'm just going to be him. I'm going to be him.
Yeah. And I think that's the story for a lot of people. They fall in love and they just know that that's what they have to do with their life.
Yeah. This was plan A, B, and C. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I get it. I'm going to figure it out. Like now, like DJing and all that stuff came along with the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's all a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I guess you gave some great advice already for young producers, young music industry professionals, people who are aspiring to really make a mark on the music industry. And I just kind of wanted to close out with just any final advice you have for someone who's trying to make it, someone who's young, coming up, maybe someone who's in Willingboro or someone who's in, middle school, high school, just finding out about this world. What's your advice for them if they really want to be successful in the music industry and are starting to think that maybe that is what they need to be doing?
First, I would say to anybody watching, identify what success is for you, and not what the world tells you or your friends or your parents even. Define what success looks like, feels like for you. Try to find a mentor, someone that you can just, even if it's not a person that actually knows you, study someone.
Yeah.
Study someone. Continue to learn, continue to stay humble, and really put in the work. It's really about that. Everything is about really putting in that work and staying focused, staying the course. It's a roller coaster ride. So fall in love with it. Fall in love with the grind. Fall in love with the journey, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope everybody who watches this takes that to heart, because that is so true. And I think it will take them far.
Cool.
Yeah. So that pretty much brings me to the end of my questions. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to share with the Finesse community.
Shout out to the Finesse community. I love y'all. I love every single one of y'all. Follow me, hit me up. Official Dilemma. New music coming from my guys, Dom and Jesse. They're amazing. If you haven't gotten in tune with Dom and Jesse, please get in tune with Dom and Jesse. They're super dope. And new music, new cool stuff happening. And hopefully, next time we do this, I'll be on the West Coast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been so great talking to you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Anytime you need me, I'm here.